Welcome to the deep dive. We take a fire hose of industry research, of buyer guides, insider reports, and we distill it all down into, well, pure, actionable insight for you. And today we are wading into a market that it's just fundamentally paradoxical. We're talking about applicant tracking systems, or ATS. I mean, think about this for a second. We are discussing a nearly $3 billion enterprise technology sector. These are massive, mission-critical systems.
Used by almost everyone.
Exactly. Nearly every major company on the planet. And yet, the sources we've looked at reveal this staggering truth. Almost everyone who uses these systems, from the recruiter to the candidate,
Right.
they seem to absolutely despise the experience.
That is the core frustration we're tackling in this deep dive, that paradox you mentioned.
Right.
It is absolutely real.
All right.
We've analyzed a comprehensive ATS buyer's guide that, it does not pull any punches. It really exposes the documented weaknesses.
The real story.
The real story. The implementation nightmares, the hidden costs, the awful user experience of the biggest enterprise players. We're talking Workday, iCIMS, SuccessFactors.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward then.
It is. We want to help you, the learner, cut through all those layers of marketing jargon and just understand the true cost, the complexity, and ultimately the risk that comes with choosing one of these massive systems.
Let's ground this first, because this is a serious market we're talking about.
It's huge. Absolutely. To set the stage, the enterprise ATS market isn't niche at all. It hit a valuation of, what, $2.9 billion this year?
$2.9 billion.
And its penetration is almost total.
Hey.
98% of Fortune 500 companies use an ATS. But, and this is the crisis point, the data that just stops you cold.
Okay.
60% of companies are struggling with implementations that actually increase their time to hire.
Wait, increase it?
Yes, instead of making recruiting faster, these systems are actively slowing them down, which just shows a fundamental breakdown in the whole tech ecosystem.
That completely betrays the whole promise of HR technology.
Okay, so let's unpack this core crisis, this stunning disconnect between market dominance and actual user satisfaction. Because when you look at the leaders, the user ratings, they're genuinely terrible.
They are. Just take Workday. It holds the largest share of the enterprise market, so most major companies are relying on it.
Right, the biggest player.
And yet, across the major review platforms, their average user rating is hovering around a devastating 3.19 out of 5.
Wow. 3.19. That's barely a passing grade for software that costs millions and is supposed to be the backbone of your entire talent strategy.
It's not just mild annoyance at that point.
No, that implies widespread functional pain.
Yeah.
So what are the specific documented pain points? What drives a rating that low?
Well, the complaints are visceral and they're really consistent across the sources. For Workday, users use terms like horrible system
And a nightmare to navigate. The root problem seems to be this incredible administrative complexity. It often requires dedicated, specialized people, not just recruiters, to manage the back end.
So that's a huge hidden labor cost right there. It's not just hard to use, it's hard to even maintain.
Exactly. And, crucially, users cite a severely lacking mobile experience.
And that matters so much now.
It matters hugely. Something like 60% of job seekers today apply on a mobile device. So if your ATS application is clunky or slow,
You lose them.
you're not just frustrating candidates, you are actively harming your employer brand. You're losing top talent before they even get through the first screen. That friction costs companies real money.
So if the usability pan wasn't enough, we then hit what the buyer's guide calls the complexity tax. And this one is associated with SAP's SuccessFactors.
Right, the complexity tax. This is all about the crushing cost of implementation. Deployments for SuccessFactors average a staggering 12 to 18 months.
A year and a half.
A year and a half of focused project management, internal labor, everything. And the financial shock is immediate. The implementation fees alone can reach 100% to 125% of the annual subscription cost.
So you're paying for 2 years of software before you get day one of functionality?
That's it, before you see a single measurable result.
So after that year and a half, what do users say about the finished product, assuming they finally launch?
The feedback is just as consistent. Poor ease of use, and again, complex navigation. It requires extensive training just for someone to understand the basic workflow.
So it's not intuitive at all.
Not at all. It's a high-friction environment that just saps productivity long after that 18-month implementation finally ends.
Okay, and then let's shift gears to iCIMS, who the research flags as the hidden cost champion.
Right.
This sounds like where the sticker shock really hits the CFO.
This is where procurement managers really need to be on their toes. Customers report constant surprise costs. They get charged extra for features that you would think are standard.
Like what?
Well, basic integrations with other HR systems they already use. Things that should just work out of the box. So you're basically paying this massive tariff just to get two pieces of your own technology to shake hands.
And that reliance on custom work, that usually means you're leaning on external help too, right?
Absolutely. The sources show they often rely heavily on expensive external consultants to customize the system and get those integrations to work.
And when things go wrong,
When things inevitably go sideways,
mm,
customer support is cited as completely unhelpful. The buyer's guide noted that reported cases frequently take a minimum of 3 weeks to resolve.
3 weeks. In recruiting, a 3-week delay on a technical issue, I mean, that candidate is long gone.
Long gone. It completely kills your hiring velocity.
So we've established the biggest players are too complex, too slow, and packed with hidden costs. What does all this dissatisfaction mean for, say, the mid-market? Companies with, 50 to 5,000 employees?
Well, this is the fastest growing ATS market segment, and it raises a critical dilemma for them. They have complex needs, they need strong reporting, compliance tools, but they just cannot tolerate that enterprise-level complexity or the cost structure we just talked about.
They can't afford a 1.5-year implementation.
No way. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. The big platforms are too bloated, but the cheaper, more basic tools, they probably lack the scalability they'll need when they double in size next year.
Exactly. So that creates this critical gap in the market.
It does. These growth-focused companies, they need enterprise functionality, but delivered with mid-market simplicity and speed. They're actively looking for solutions built on a different philosophy entirely.
And that brings us to the strategic shift we're seeing. The smart buyers, they're moving away from just comparing features. They're focusing on 3 measurable business outcomes. So criteria number 1, user experience and true adoption rates.
And this isn't just about making recruiters happy anymore. It's about making them productive. We found hard data showing that intuitive talent management systems can boost recruiter productivity by 30 to 50%.
30 to 50.
Within the first 90 days.
Hmm?
That's a massive, immediate ROI.
Okay, let's contrast that with the Workday data point we mentioned earlier.
When Workday users are reporting that a task that should take 5 minutes instead takes 45.
45 minutes.
You're losing 80% of your recruiter's day to administrative friction. If you have 5 recruiters, you're essentially employing them to wrestle with software instead of engaging with candidates.
The cost of that lost productivity must be exponential.
It is. And then there's the candidate side of that UX coin. Mobile optimization is just non-negotiable now.
Right, the data on that was shocking.
The research is so clear, 60% of candidates will just abandon an application if they hit a poor mobile experience.
It's a self-inflicted wound.
Totally.
Conversely, systems with seamless, mobile-optimized processes get 20 to 30% higher completion rates. So if your ATS is a barrier, you're actively driving away the best candidates.
The ones who have the most options. That's a great transition to the second key evaluation point. Implementation timeline and documented success. Speed isn't just convenience, it's a driver of ROI.
Precisely. We can actually define success benchmarks here. For a typical mid-market company, let's say 200 to 1,000 employees, the research says they should be aiming for a 60 to 90-day implementation.
60 to 90 days.
That's the timeline that delivers fast, measurable returns. Now contrast that with the 6 to 18 months the traditional vendors demand. The difference is just staggering.
And yet we know project failures are rampant. Why do these implementations fall apart so often, especially with those legacy systems?
The data points to 2 major failure factors. First, unrealistic timeline expectations. That accounts for 47% of all project failures.
So they buy into the sales pitch. Exactly. Without realizing the internal commitment required. Second, and this is often more devastating, complex system integration requirements. That causes 31% of failures.
That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. The cost and complexity of integrations naturally leads us to the third criterion, total cost of ownership, or TCO. This is where the guide got really interesting for me, because TCO often doubles the initial quotes.
It's the hidden costs that absolutely crush the budgets. So you have the annual subscription fee, right? But then the implementation services are typically 50 to 125% of that fee right out of the gate.
So on a $100,000 subscription, you're paying at least another 50 grand just to turn it on.
At least. But the real kicker is the integration cost, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the big one.
It is. The sources show that custom integrations, those bespoke connections to make two standalone systems talk to each other, can cost anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000
Per system.
per tried system. Connection. So think about that. If you're a growing company trying to link your new ATS with your performance system and your payroll platform, you could easily be looking at $250,000.
Just for the plumbing, you're paying tariffs to use your own data.
Exactly. And this is where the integrated platform advantage becomes impossible to ignore. If a platform is built natively to handle all of this, recruiting, onboarding, core HR, that integration cost just vanishes.
It's just gone.
It is. Integrated platforms typically deliver 25 to 40% lower TCO. Why? Because the native functionality eliminates the need for all those expensive third-party projects, and they offer much more predictable pricing.
So to make this tangible, let's dive into the ROI numbers from the source material. This is where we see the real measurable benefit.
Let's use the hypothetical case study of a 300-employee healthcare company. Before they got an integrated system, their average time to hire was 65 days.
65 days. And their abandonment rate.
A crushing 60%. These are just incredibly inefficient numbers for such a competitive market. Massive opportunity cost and recruiter burnout.
So what happens when they make the switch?
Post-implementation, that time to hire drops dramatically down to 35 days.
Wow, almost in half.
And think about the impact of that 30-day reduction.
Yeah.
It means the recruiter's administrative time, which was previously eating up 70% of their day, it shifts. Now they're focusing on strategic activities like pipeline building for 60% of their day.
That's a fundamental shift. They go from being administrators to being strategic partners. What's the bottom line dollar impact of that?
This is the number we want you to remember. Organizations save approximately $4,000 per hire by reducing time to hire by just 1 week.
$4,000 a week.
Yep. So if you're hiring 50 people a year and you're cutting 4 weeks off that process, you are looking at substantial six-figure savings annually, just from efficiency.
Yeah.
And the integrated platforms deliver that improvement 40% faster.
That recovery speed is incredible. I saw that example of TechStart Solutions in the sources.
Right. TechStart, a 275-person tech company. They saw their time to hire cut from 52 days down to 28. But critically, their implementation cost recovery, the point where the savings paid for the system, they happened within 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. That's lightning fast ROI.
Driven by low TCO and high user adoption.
So clearly integration drives massive savings today. But why is this integration wins philosophy, this strategy for, future-proofing your investment? It sounds like it's about more than just eliminating friction.
We absolutely are.
Oh,
You just have to look at where the market is going. It's consolidating toward platforms that connect recruiting directly with the entire employee lifecycle.
Onboarding, performance, engagement, all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
If your ATS is a standalone silo, it is fundamentally limiting your future capabilities, especially as we move into more sophisticated uses of AI.
The AI implications are key here. We hear about AI being everywhere, so why does a standalone ATS fail to support it properly?
Because the advanced AI models, like for performance prediction or identifying future skill gaps, they require complete, holistic employee lifecycle data to learn from.
Right, they need the full picture.
Exactly. If your talent data is locked in Workday, but your performance data is in a separate system, you lack the unified data architecture you need. You've created a data chasm.
And you can't build a bridge.
Precisely. That unified architecture is the only way to feed those AI models accurately. Fragmentation basically equals future obsolescence.
This deep dive has made it crystal clear. The future of enterprise recruiting tech really does favor these unified platforms that are designed for user experience and speed. They get rid of the data silos and the crippling hidden costs.
And that strategic choice has massive implications beyond just efficiency.
Okay, so as we wrap up, let's leave you with a final thought from the sources. The biggest compliance challenge facing buyers today centers on the increasingly complex use of AI in hiring. Modern platforms have to address this. They need sophisticated features like bias detection in job descriptions and evaluation processes.
So consider the risk this way. How much regulatory and financial risk does a fragmented system actually introduce?
That's a great question.
If you have data silos spread across 3 different vendors, one for recruiting, one for performance, a third for compliance reporting, what happens when you're trying to ensure consistent, auditable compliance across EEOC reporting, pay transparency laws, and AI bias detection?
It sounds like a nightmare.
Fragmented data introduces exponentially higher operational and legal risk in a regulatory environment that is demanding unified transparency. That fragmented system might save you a little money up front, but it could cost you millions in fines and reputation damage down the road. It's a risk you really cannot afford to take.
A vital question worth mulling over. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We hope this strategic roadmap helps you navigate the complex world of ATS technology with absolute confidence.